Hello there, Richie Stormtrooper here. Welcome to my channel, and today we're pressing on with our Stormtrooper build. We're looking at the strapping system again, second part of the strapping system, progressing with the back parts, the back, the kidney plate and the butt plate. If you haven't yet watched the first video where I looked at putting these strapping brackets in on the chest and the front pieces, please go back and watch that now. That will be useful because it's the same principle. I won't spend too long on explaining this. As I say, it's the same principle. We're looking at joining the back parts, these three sections, and putting in the strapping brackets on the inside of the armour. I'm going to put up on screen some original references so you can look at the positioning of these original brackets on the original suits. So you can, I would say eyeball it. There's no strict measurements. I'm going to use my old Trooper Master armor as a guide because I researched this pretty closely and also consulted with Trooper Master on the positioning of this. So I'm going to use this as a rough guide with some modifications which are specific to the RS props. So keep watching if you want to see that later on. Starting here with the chest. The back piece then. When doing this, do use the back piece to mark the holes and don't start on this kidney plate, because if you measure from the edge on the kidney plate, this is obviously a lot wider than the back piece and you could make a hole far too near the edge and it's not going to line up with the back plate. So take the narrower piece, and here we've got something like 2 centimeters, 20 millimeters, so less than an inch. You can also do it completely eyeballing it, just roughly. Moving on then, the same principle as in the last video. Get these snug up to that corner area where the return edge starts. You can get those snug in there. I've matched my drill bit to the size of my screws, obviously. What I can do is take my bracket, don't need to mark the second hole. On this edge, these are all the smaller type of bracket, the ones that are not so tall. We have 3 tall ones, they're for the chest only. Take a nut, screw that on there. Don't need to tighten it fully, just so that I can then mark the position of the other side. I can see there where the bracket's going to land, where it's going to be positioned, and I can mark exactly with my pencil through the hole. Flip that out of the way. Drill that again in a more safety conscious manner than I'm doing that. Could have gone through my hand, I know. Yes, the screws are visible on the outside. They're going to be visible on the armour when it's finished. That's true replica. That is how it should be done. Even if you're going to be going with a more modern, robust strapping system like I have on here, for example, you still want to put these screws in. You don't need the brackets. You can put in the right size screws because you want to replicate the original look. They want to be visible on your armour. You can, of course, go a different route, leave those off if you want to go for something a whole lot more idealized. That's not my idea of replica armor, but of course it's free for you to choose. Same thing on the other side then. I have one hole, I can mark my second hole with the bracket on there, flip it out again, drill it out, and my 2 outer brackets are finished. Now what I want to do for the middle is, I can take a tape measure for this. We're just looking for roughly the middle, so I will measure that, try and find the part of the armour where maybe just under the box bit on the back here, measure across there. It's 36 centimeters roughly, so 18 is going to be the middle. Mark that on there. Doesn't have to be extremely accurate, as long as they line up with the other part which you're going to be fastening the part to, you're going to be okay. Line that up by hand so that it straddles my center mark as close to centrally as possible. Hold that in place, then I can mark my holes like that. I can put one screw in first if I want it to be a bit more secure, but I've held that in place roughly securely, and I'm going to go ahead and drill both my holes and fit that bracket. And there we have it. We have 3 brackets installed on the back, and now all we need to do is line that up with the kidney plate. You can of course take your tape measure across here, 49 centimeters. I'm going to look for the middle, 24 and a half. Find my middle then, there, around there, trace that up here. What I can do is install the bracket here first and then make a temporary connection with an elastic loop. That's going to help me hold that in place, and then I can mark the outer brackets more easily. This can be a little trickier on the RS Prop Masters kit because this is one of the parts where you notice that this is a cast from a specific suit, and a suit that has suffered a little bit over time. Then the curve on this is a little less pronounced, whereas this has been very well preserved. The curve here is more pronounced and it doesn't quite follow the same curve. You can gently, very gently heat this if that is a problem for you. I don't find it too bad, that's fine. One of the benefits of the Trooper Master kit, even though it's not cast from original, is that it's perfectly engineered, let's say, to fit and work. It's his replica of his version of what it would have looked like when it was new, without any wear and tear. With this particular build, we've gone full cast from original, perfect mojo, all warts and all replica of RS Prop Master's original suit. Looks okay. And I have a line here. Same principle again. This is one part of the build that I really enjoy. You've got a real feeling that you've got your parts that you've got to glue together or weld together. You've got them all assembled pretty much, and it's taking shape. It's really quite a fast moving. Once you've got your thing, you're confident where you're going to drill your holes, so you can really move through this work really quick, and it really gives you that feeling that you're getting up ahead of steam and it's starting to look like a Stormtrooper suit, getting close to final assembly, close to being able to wear it or display it. As I say, before I close that other side, I'm going to take an elastic loop, slip it over there. I'm going to do some temporary assembly on this to help me line up the outer brackets. That of course is going to mean opening up a bracket on the other side. Have a quick sneak preview of how this is all going to work when we're done. And I've got a connection there which is going to help me line up those outer parts. There is of course some leeway on here. You can shift that back and forth. It is of course elastic, so it's not going to be permanently fixed, but it's going to allow us to align that up a lot easier. Hold that in place, no measuring, just let it fall how it's going to fall. In each case I'm just marking where this inner screw, this inner bracket hole lands, and then I can make sure by slipping over the bracket over there that I mark it at the right, with the right distance between the two holes of the bracket. Now I can leave it like that, but I think for safety's sake I'm going to open that up again. We can turn our attention then to the connection between the kidney and the butt plate. This is another, I mentioned it earlier, this is another part where I would treat the RS Prop Masters kit a little bit differently to the Trooper Master kit. On the Trooper Master kit, it looks like here, it looks like I've looked at my original references and I've gone for 4 centimeters in from the edge there before I plant my first screw. Now, like the back part, this butt plate on the RS Prop Masters kit it was probably one of the more tricky parts to cast because it was really worn. If you look at the original suit, it's quite battered. We looked at it, I think, in another video. This part has lost some of its curve. When you come to wearing it, you can put a tight fastening between the legs. There's a piece of plastic between the legs that cancels that out. Likewise here, this has lost some of its curve, and if you don't pay attention to it and you just go with a 4 centimeter gap here, this can protrude a little. Again, if you're confident enough and you know you're not going to ruin your armor, you can gently heat this with maybe with a hairdryer and put a little bit more bend in there. What I am going to do, however, is put my first screw, plant my first screw further towards the edge, so my join, my fastening here, is going to pull that tighter, more in line with the kidney plate, which has kept pretty much the original curve. It'll just keep it a little bit snugger, look a bit neater when we come to wear or display the armour. I'm going to go half, I'm going to go 20mm on this. It may not be in line with some of the original suits, and again it may well be, I'm sure it wasn't absolutely accurate, but it also matches up with our back, looks kind of uniform, and it's going to make sure it fits snugger together. These parts are roughly equal in width. If anything, the butt plate is slightly wider. Here you can maybe set the brackets as we've just discussed so that they pull that whole section a bit snugger, a bit tighter. Don't have to, just look how it goes on your particular armour. Like on the other parts, I'm going to find my middle, my centre point with the tape measure on the butt plate. Got something like 51, so 25.5. Again, in the middle, I'm going to go with 1 elastic loop to help me line it all up. That's all my brackets on my butt plate, ready to be aligned. Now on the kidney plate, I'm not going to find the middle and then align it like that because it's important that the edges line up. I'm going to do this all completely just by eyeballing it. Mark the 2 lines opposite there. Just gonna slip that over there and hold that in place without screwing the other side closed, just so that I'm going to line up these sides. It gets quite tight on this side with it being a little bit narrower, but you've got enough room for your brackets. Because we position these screws wider on the butt plate, it means this is not very far at all from the edge, but it's doable and it's going to be of benefit, as I say. And there we have it. We have completed this very important stage. We have brackets installed on all the parts of the back parts of the armour. We could, in theory, install our loops already and assemble that all complete to make that one piece. But we're not going to do that yet. We have of course got this brackets installed on the front, and the next stage is going to be joining these parts that way around. These parts that are in the middle sections, there's a permanent connection here, which is very important, and it's going to be fiddly if we've got the whole armour assembled around it. We're going to just need these 2 parts, and that's going to be the subject for the next video. More final assembly, I would say. That will be our next stage. So we get the body armour or completely assembled. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was useful for you or interesting. If so, please do like and subscribe. I'm going to be completing this build over the next few weeks. Tune in for more. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.